Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, everyone, and welcome to a special extra interview of Final Cut today. I'm joined by a man who apparently looks exactly like the Zecaf one, so I've been told. There we go. That's the reaction we were hoping for, ladies and gentlemen.
Who told you that?
Who do you think? Let's be honest. Who do you think?
Yeah, Craig, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
yeah. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, the man who is severely blushing, Alfie Browne Sykes.
Hi, everyone.
How you
I've
doing,
already
mate? You all right?
finished my beer.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not too bad. It's been a long day. It's been a busy day, but excited to finally sit down and just have a chat.
it's always nice for the little chats, isn't it? So,
Mm.
before we begin, obviously, as some of the English viewers may know, you played Jason Roscoe for 3 years on Hollyoaks. Look, I used
I
to
did
watch
indeed.
Hollyoaks back in the day. Used to loved it, absolutely do. So, do you miss being on Hollyoaks, and would you go back if the circumstances were right for yourself?
Yeah, do you know? I miss every project that I work on, to be honest, and I miss Hollyoaks because I was there for such a long time, and you know I made a lot of great friendships there with people and worked with some amazing people. And I would go back provided that the circumstances were right. A good juicy storyline to get my teeth into. I'd you know the door was never closed. It was always left open for me. So who knows? Maybe one day I could go back to the village.
So, since I've embarrassed you a little bit, would you like me to embarrass myself for you a little bit?
Yeah, go on then.
When I went on Hollyoaks set, this was when Rachel Shenton was part of the cast. Yes, it's that long ago. Jamie Lomas said hello to me in reception, and I just went starstruck.
What
I
did you
was
say a
like,
word?
"Yeah, yeah, yeah, you're right." And I went, I just literally couldn't say a word. So my fiance, who was actually there, had to say hello for me, and she's like, "Why do you say hello?" I'm like, "I'm starstruck. It's Jamie Lomas."
Which is funny because he's the easiest man in the world to talk to.
He doesn't play the easiest man in the world. Let's be honest.
No, not in character,
That's,
no, but him himself. Jamie's a puppy in real life.
oh, bless him. Just a bit of a few facts first. Is it true you have a page dedicated to your feet?
I only found out about this recently from my manager. I did not know there was a page dedicated to my feet, and I don't know why anyone would be looking at my feet. Surely there's better feet to be looking at than mine.
Who knows nowadays with everyone? Everyone's got some sort of weird fetish, whether it be feet or backsides or you name it. There's always a weird fetish for something.
Well, to be honest, I don't think it's that much of a niche. It seems to be quite a common thing, people into feet. The
Are you?
bigger question is why am I not making any money off of this
Yeah.
page?
Why aren't you making money off it, mate?
Yeah, I know. I
well,
should
let's
own that page.
well let's face it. It's not just your feet that have a page dedicated to you. Is it true that there's actually a story on Medium called A Sweet Adventure that refers to you?
Once again, this is something my manager Craig told me about recently, and I had no idea about it until he brought it to my attention. And I'll be honest, I don't fully understand it. Is it like a fantasy type thing?
It could very well be. I actually have some paragraphs of dialogue if you want me to take you through it.
Go on then. Probably embarrass me again.
It's not that bad, mate. Alfie struggled a little as he placed Jessica into her pram and tucked her in. The baby was sound asleep, unaware of the excitement ahead. With Jessica safe and sound, Alfie turned to his wife. Jilly was next to the bed, folding the last items for the suitcases. Her face reflected the joy she felt as she prepared for the holiday ahead. This was the first time she and Alfie were traveling with Jessica, and Jilly hoped little one would have some memory of this trip as she grew older. Jilly head was already filled with images of all the photos they would take of this first family trip.
Well, that was mild. I thought you were
It
gonna.
is
I
nice,
thought you were I thought you were gonna start reeling off a graphic novel or something, but that wasn't actually too bad.
I'll tell
I
you
can deal
something,
with
mate.
that.
I think I found my true calling. I don't need podcasting anymore. I'll just do that.
Yeah, you read it really well, to be honest.
God bless you. But anyway, enough about embarrassing you. I'm sorry, but you'll have to have a word with a certain someone at the end. It is his fault. I will say that much. So I had to. So hope you're all
Yeah,
right
I
with that, mate.
certainly do.
Singers will quote, say, Beyonce, Britney, Christina, or more recently, Taylor Swift, Katy Perry, or Rihanna as an inspiration for getting them into singing. So, as far as movies, TV, theatre go, who are your inspirations?
My inspirations, probably just a lot of the classic actors. Anyone that knows me knows I like to sit down and watch an old film. You
Mm,
know, whether it's one of the Godfather movies or something like that. So all of the classic actors, Brando, De Niro, Al Pacino, all those old actors that really worked on those long quality movies back in the day. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration. And even if I'm working on something now and I feel a little bit flat, or I'm doing an audition for something and I feel flat, I will sit down and I'll watch something like that just to sort of invigorate me a bit and just liven me back up and make me appreciate why I do this.
Are you like me, where movies are more of an education than, say, school would be?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because there's so much emotion behind them,
Mm,
and they make you feel something, movies. So, and I think that's why um, I would learn more from sitting there watching a good film with a good plot and some great actors than I would someone just trying to educate me out of a textbook.
yeah. Speaking of
It was the
which,
same when I was in school and I was learning about
yeah.
acting at that GCSE level. If something was up on its feet and it had life in it, then that was perfect for me. But if it was theoretical work, then I just switch off. I won't listen.
Bless you. I tell you what, one thing that entertainment did teach me that something in my schoolwork didn't. You can deliver a baby with a pen. I think it's something like a spring out of a pen top, a pen knife, and I can't remember what the other thing is, but I actually got that from a very old episode of CSI. I was like, yeah, we don't teach
You
that in
deliver a
school.
baby with those items.
Yeah, Coroner did that
In
as
what,
well.
in what order?
I can't remember actually, 'cause it's been that long since I watched it. But basically, there was a woman found dead in her wardrobe, but the baby was still alive. So it was a case of, right, we need to get her out of the mother before the baby loses consciousness and stops breathing. So literally, the quickest things he had was a pen knife. I think it was like a spring out of a pen top. I can't remember what the other things were, but it was like, wow, school never taught me that.
What's the spring used for?
I have no idea, mate. Honestly, it's been that long since I've watched it, and CSI box sets are all over the place now. I know some of them are on Paramount Plus, but not all of them, not the early ones anyway. So I have been trying to I've been keeping an eye out for it, but I'm not quite sure which season it is and which episode it is. But I'll have to have a look on the.
I think I'm going to Google that after this because I'm really. I mean, I can understand the pen knife, but what's the spring out of the
I
pen
have no
for?
idea. I know it's something to do with a pen, but I can't remember, to be honest. But it's something like that. I will have to actually have a look and clear that up for you, and I'll let you know. Speaking of which, you've been in Hollyoaks, obviously, and you've also been in Doctors. Have you got any desire to be in any of the other major European English soaps? So, say EastEnders, Coronation Street.
Um, well, for me, it's not necessarily whether it's a soap, a TV drama, a film, or it's not the project itself. It's for me, it comes down to the story and the character I'll be playing. They're the things that attract me because I've had auditions through before. Some of them are big movies, and I've read it, and I've just thought I'm not interested. Other times,
Yeah.
little independent films, low budget movies come through with a great story and a great character, and that's what motivates me. Reading it uh, and feeling connected to the piece that you're reading. So to answer your question, I would go on any of them provided that the part was right. But just to be on them for the sake of being on a soap, I've no interest in doing that.
Fair enough. So you actually have certain projects out. You're soon to be seen in Sublime, which does look quite good from the IMDb outset of it. What can you tell us about it and where you're going to come into it?
So Sublime is a film that's taking on energy drinks and I suppose some corporate greed as well, um, and the damage that these energy drinks are doing. But obviously, it's dramatized in the movie where people are drinking this new energy drink Sublime, and it's causing all kinds of problems with them to the point where they become zombified. And my character comes into it, Larson. So Larson is basically this picture boy for Sublime itself, um, and he's out there selling it to people, and he's getting his cut from it. And at some point, he does end up working for like the corporate side of the industry. But this guy is just he just reminds me of like this little weasel that's just out for himself,
Yeah.
and he's part of this company that just he'll do anything just to put cash in his pocket, and he hasn't got a shred of concern for humanity whatsoever.
So, how would you best describe him? Mind you, you kind of just described that, haven't you? All right, then. How would you describe him in terms of villainy? Because obviously, there's that many levels of villainy. How would you describe him as a villain?
How would I describe him as a villain?
I'll tell you what. There's one way to look at this.
Cockroach.
Everyone's
like an evil cockroach.
Yeah, I'm going to say everyone's expendable in terms of everything. Doesn't matter who they are, what they're doing. They're expendable in terms of in favor of the greater good, which is your company at this point.
Sorry, say that again.
Basically, how I would describe how I could describe it, grab your character is a case of I don't really care what happens or who dies. As long as I get what I want at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, he's there to fulfill his own needs and his own desires, and it doesn't matter what happens to anyone else. It's all about himself. That's what he's like. He's just evil, narcissistic, and unconcerned about anyone else but himself.
Sounds like a lot of people I know, to be honest.
Me too.
Bless you. It sounds from the outline, it's along the lines of I'll say They Live or Invasion of the Body Snatchers, not literally, but as people are acting strangely and there's only one person who really notices the change. Is it similar in that tone, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. Extremely similar. Like I said, it's this this slow change in the society that that one person in particular is onto, but no one seems to be aware of the change. So yes, it is very similar in that sense.
All right, then it's a horror movie. Obviously, there's a lot of horrors out there that have a certain je ne sais quoi about them. So, what do you think would make this an interesting watch?
What would make it an interesting watch? Well, I think I personally haven't really come across any movies recently that sort of come at this from the angle of corporate greed, it's like when do you know what it reminded me of when I read it? When like in America years and years ago, where I think there was a company that was pouring chemicals away and it was poisoning a whole town, but they had no concern about the people in the town or their health. What was that?
It was a Mark Ruffalo movie, wasn't it?
What was it about that? What was the company?
I can't remember what the company was, but I do remember the movie you're on about. I'm pretty sure it was a Mark Ruffalo movie.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that. They're just they're more concerned about making profit than the health of the people around them. And I just think that in itself is quite an interesting concept, and especially as it's an energy drink, it's something that you're to consume, and you're supposed to trust that this is okay to drink and that it's safe. But the reality is it's detrimental to your health. But no one actually in those companies, they're not concerned about your health. All they care about is putting money in their pockets.
Pretty much. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, it's not released yet. I don't know how the movie's going to go. You do know. Is there any chance of a sequel? And if there is, would you or can you come back for it?
Yeah, there is actually been talks of the sequel that would involve Larson, and I think this is the point where Larson jumps from this face selling the product, face of the
Yeah.
company selling the product, to actually taking a big involvement in the corporate side of it.
Mhm.
And I spoke about it. We spoke about it briefly, but obviously right now I'm more focused on getting the
Yeah.
first movie completed.
All right, then. If we're gonna say the sequel possibly is a origin story of your character, who would you like to be in that movie?
In the sequel,
Yeah,
who would I like to be in the sequel?
or who would you like? I should say, not who would you like to be. Sorry.
Just in terms of just another actor who I'd like
Yeah,
to be in it.
yeah. Everyone has a
Oh,
wish list.
who would I like to work with?
Ian McShane.
Mm, well, is that who you want?
I think, to be honest with you, all I need to say is Deadwood, and that would be my argument made.
Do you know what? I'm a massive fan of Peaky Blinders, and I absolutely love Cillian Murphy.
Oh, who doesn't?
And
Who doesn't, mate?
but he just, do you know what? I think I would have to pick him just because he seems to have like command so much
Mm-hmm.
um, authority
Yeah,
when he's in a scene. And he's not a big guy, but he just has that presence about him. And I'd like to work with him on set and just see what
yeah,
it's like just to do a scene with him, because he just seems to whenever he's in a scene, he just doesn't have to do much and he just dominates it. So
yeah. I kind of feel the
what-
same way with Ian McShane because Ian McShane is one of those people you wouldn't want to cross, but you would also like to hear his wisdom. All I need to say is watch John Wick's 1, 2, 3, and 4 to give an prime example of that.
yeah.
Oh yes, before I forget, to clear the air, things are always taken out of proportion, as you know, being in the public eye. So for clarification, you are still in the acting business. You've never left. You never did. You never will. But you do feel the need to help out other people. Is there any chance you can elaborate further on that?
Well, there was some stories that come out about me about like these words that were used, shunning the industry to for a normal job and things like that. And when I you know you go through times as an actor where you have to do things that are not necessarily living the dream. You
Mm-hmm.
have to do things to pay your bills, and I've always been like that in between acting work, which is always, it's never planned, it's never 9 to 5. You'll get a job, you'll have some time off, you'll audition for other work, and there'll be these gaps, and you have to fill those gaps to take care of yourself financially. But I've always been here, I've always been working away and forward in my career, and there's things that happen in the background that, just because it's not there and then out in the public eye, there's still things that happen in that people don't see. Um, but in terms of actually doing that sort of work, like I started a roofing business, and I actually employ people. And I'll be honest, as much as I love acting, there isn't something that's quite as fulfilling as knowing that you're giving men and their families an income and a
Mm-hmm.
lifeline. And that's actually a very satisfying feeling to me. So, but to answer that question, no, I never left. I was always here, I was always working away. But obviously there's other things that you have to do to take care of your survival.
Yeah. I'll be brutally honest. If my podcast ever did go professional and I was getting paid by the bucket loads, first thing I'd do, aside from making sure I've got my checks, is there's a lady who I know very well. She's a Geordie lass. She's been like a second mother to me for years. First thing I said to her is, right, the minute I make enough money, I will officially say to you, right, pack up your stuff, you're retiring, because that's how much she means to me and that's how much I love her.
And it's such a like I said, there's a great sense of fulfillment in
Yeah.
doing that. And I'm actually shocked more people that come into that sort of wealth don't do those kind of things, because how much can you hoard for yourself? There's something very satisfying in helping other people out anyway. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that.
I'm sure people have their reasons, whether they're valid or not, but I guess you and me are cut from the same cloth, though, mate.
Yeah, no, we can agree on that.
Bless you. So, obviously, from an acting perspective, research is key for any TV you do, movies, games, etc. How far have you been with research during your acting career?
When I was first starting out, I wasn't trained as an actor.
Yeah.
My acting was very much, I started young, and it was all about learning on the job. Um, when I was younger, I would just read a script. I'd have an idea, a vision come into my head of how I think it should be, and that's what I would do. But these days, obviously, the older you get, you start seeing the nuances that you didn't see when you were a child. So now research is a lot more detailed for me. If I make a decision, there has to be a reason for that decision. Whereas when I was younger, it was all, well, that seems good. And the more sophisticated the role, the less that sort of approach cuts it. So as I've progressed with age, it's that research has definitely become a key part of my strategy.
Gaming and animation is an avenue many who have been on before I've already pursued. Just to give you a bit of an example, I've had Lily Rexu on, who's done multiple Assassin's Creed games. Alex Wilton Regan, who was the envy of just about every woman on the planet when she voiced Keanu Reeves' girlfriend in Cyberpunk 2077. The Aussie great known as Martin Copping, who has been Lucas Riggs on Call of Duty Vanguard and Mozzie in Rainbow Six Siege. And Daniel Bisutti, who voiced Norse goddess Freya in the last two God of War games. Has gaming and animation, or anime in this case, been a case of where you'd like to go but haven't for whatever reason?
Do you know what? I've just literally never had one of those opportunities come my way. And that's all it is. But I would absolutely love to be involved in one of those games. I've seen how they shoot it when they do the motion capture and all that stuff. And to me, I'm a high energy person,
Yeah.
especially when it comes on to being on set. I love being on set, and I'm high energy. So doing the whole motion capture, pretending I'm on a battlefield and being in the suit and everything, and having all of that shot around me, that is actually like a bucket list acting job for me. I would love it. That, and maybe a voiceover animation. I would love to do something like that.
So have you got an idea of?
Yeah.
Oh yes. Before we go on to the quiz, have you got anything coming up that you'd like to talk about that we haven't discussed, or anything you yourself would like to personally promote?
Oh well, in terms of acting, obviously I've got Sublime coming up, and there is another movie I'm actually working on next year called Tears of the Blind, and another one called The Way Love Speaks. I actually want to talk about The Way Love Speaks as well, because that is, as soon as I, that come through from my manager, that one just hooked me, because it's for one, it's and it's a story about autism, which I always think those stories are good to tell, because they impact a lot of people, and it gives them something to relate to, and there's gives them some hope, and maybe helps them get through their own issues. But that one, The Way Love Speaks, is mind you, I don't know how much I'm actually allowed to say about this. I'm about to go into the plot and everything, and I don't know if I'm even allowed to talk about it.
If it'll help anything, just a brief description of the plot will do. It doesn't have to be major, just literally a little bit of a plot should be enough.
Yeah. Also, basically, there's this mother and father, and they have a young daughter, and there's some behaviours that are concerning them, so they take her to a specialist, and she's diagnosed with autism. And the story is about their struggle, well, from the father's perspective, his struggle of coming to terms with it, and knowing the
it is a bit hard to say the right.
Yeah, there's obviously there's social stigmas and things like that that she's got to face and that she's got to learn to deal with growing up. Now, obviously, that's going to be hard. This young girl, and um, her parents are there also learning along the way with her, and it's just quite a nice story on how this family come together and deal with it and help their daughter through it. But I'm really excited to work on that project. I'll be shooting that next year over in Michigan, I believe it's being filmed. So I'm really looking forward to that one all round.
Anything else that you'd like to talk about?
I mentioned Tears of the Blind, didn't I?
Yes.
Well, that's where I'll be playing a detective for the first time, actually. So that's
you've been in uniform and now you're a detective. I guess.
I know. It's like
I've be sergeant then.
I've jumped up a notch, but it's over the next year there'll be quite a few projects coming out that well, like the Sublime one. There's a villain, then there's Tears of the Blind where I'll be playing a detective, and then there's the father with his trying to help his autistic daughter, and over the course of the next year, there's just a few different projects with quite a contrast, and that's actually really exciting for me to know that there's all of these different parts to be played. Because as much as I enjoyed being on a soap and all the rest of it and taking part in it, sometimes I think when you're playing one character for so long, you can start to stagnate, and it makes you feel like you need a new challenge. And to know that those are coming up in the future, and there's such a contrast between all of them, it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get my teeth into all of them.
I wish you the best of luck with them, mate. But before you do that, I have news to share. So apparently, you are the global face for a new fragrance. Sorry, I can't say it properly now. For a new fragrance, it's called Gravity. Is it? Is that how you pronounce it? Yep. Particle for men. So, is there anything you can say about it aside from congratulations, obviously?
Well, I actually they sent it to me a little while ago, and and they asked if I was interested in promoting it for them. And as soon as I got it, I opened it and sprayed it on, and it smelled incredible. And I thought, you know what? I wasn't sure what was going to turn up, because sometimes people they might want you to promote a product, and it's always better if you actually like the product that you're promoting. And I've made a deal with them, and I'll be putting that on my social media in the coming months, and hopefully I can encourage some people to order a bottle, because I really like it. I think it's a lovely aftershave. It's really nice.
So the most important question is, how do the female members of your family feel about it?
They were all over it.
Oh, in that case, mate, then it's sold. It's good.
Trust me, you spray it on and they follow you down the street. It's incredible. Go buy a bottle.
Are we talking about the sort of following you down the street? Like, I don't know if you remember Tom and Jerry, the old series, but when Spike smells a steak and he's just like...
Yeah, it's like a beckoning hand that judges you along.
Yeah.
Exactly like that. Yeah, that's what happens.
I wish you all the best with it, mate, and seriously, congratulations. Yes, I believe you are also going to be sitting on the front row at London Fashion Week.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't Fashion Week.
Just for the quiz, have you got any socials? I'm just going to go and grab my Instagram, because I'm sure I've followed you already. Just bear with me a minute. Where are we?
Did you say there's a quiz?
There is a quiz, yes, mate.
Oh.
It's all right. It'll be short this week, don't worry, mate. I've actually got you on Instagram. It's Mr. Browne E. Sykes.
That's it, Mr. Browne Sykes. I spelled Brown with an E.
Which is fair enough. There is actually a blue circle with a white tick in the middle, so it is official. Must admit, mate, all I'm going to say is, ladies, I would have a look at it. And that's my professional opinion. And you, sir, are now followed by Final Cut Official on Instagram.
Ladies, I don't look like that anymore.
They don't need to know that.
I've been too busy. I haven't been going to the gym recently, so...
I don't think they'll care about that once they see one of them in particular.
Final Cut, I found them.
Have you got any? Have you got Twitter, Facebook, Threads, even?
No, the only thing I have these days is Instagram. I used to have Twitter. I had a Twitter account for a long time, but I think I just got tired of reading everyone's opinion.
Yeah. To be honest with you, Chrissy Teigen was once known as the mayor of Twitter, and she got kicked out of office.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that tells you how bad Twitter is.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, it's not
yeah.
called Twitter anymore. It's called X.
It's called X.
It's called
Is that
X.
official now? Is it officially called
I
X?
think it's called official to the point where they put an X slogan. They lit up an X slogan for 3 days before they got told to turn it off.
Oh my God.
But
He's
who
doing
knows?
whatever he wants with
Yeah.
that
But,
platform,
but,
isn't
but if Elon Musk has got $44 billion to waste, who are we to tell him what to do with his money?
he? Nah, he can
Right.
do what he wants.
Definitely. So, very quickly, final cut quiz of 2023. I will try and keep this brief, and I'll try not to make it as difficult. So, a lot of questions are always asked, like when we become mothers, or in our case, fathers. How old do our kids have to be before we let them watch stuff? So, it's a question that's always asked. So, with that being said, if you do decide to have kids, they will ask their dad at some point, what does daddy do for a living? So, what do you let them watch first, and at what age do you let them watch Hollyoaks with you as Jason?
What age would I let them watch Hollyoaks?
With you,
Um, See, for me, it really comes down to, I think, where I think they're at.
uh,
I think there's sort of stages of maturity that kids go through, and I think when they can understand stuff, probably not Hollyoaks, because Hollyoaks, it's never too graphic. Um, and if they're young, they're probably not going to understand what they're listening to anyway. But
yeah.
yeah, I think I'd just gauge it on like what I'd let them watch and on where they were mentally. I think that's all I can say for now. Who knows? I might act differently when I'm older, like when I actually have kids. But I think that's the way I look at it for now.
I'll put it this way: I first watched Alien when I was 8 years old, and I still turned out all right. Of course, I did it
we
behind
did
mum
the,
and dad's back, obviously.
we did the same thing. I remember when I was about, what would I have been, 6 or 7? My brother was 3. We watched, remember Signs with Mel Gibson?
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, that's not even really that scary. There's just a
No,
lot of
it's not.
anticipation in that film. He didn't sleep for about a month.
I watched RoboCop when I was 6 years old, and I loved it. Although saying that, the youngest sister out of our three, she had nightmares when watching Exorcist. I watched it, and I was like, "What's the big deal about it? It's not even that bad."
Yeah, it's funny what films actually scare you though. Like some people hate blood and gore and things like that. That doesn't bother me.
Oh, I love it.
It's things just jumping out in my face that get me.
Yeah. I'll tell you what the funniest experience was that I had about jump scaring people. I went to see Annabelle, as in not the first movie, but the prequel of it, in
Yeah.
where was it? In Odeon's Greenwich on a screen, probably about 7 floors high. And honestly, I was kind of like, why did I decide to watch a horror movie in a screen this big? And bearing in mind, Annabelle isn't really that scary, but I've got 15-year-olds in front of me slinging the popcorn up, and I'm like, what the hell? It's not even that scary. They're probably the sort of 15-year-olds who, if they watch something really gory, like, I don't know, original Evil Dead, they would probably vomit down the toilet.
But at least you can watch like if you go and watch a horror movie in a cinema, you can go as a team. You
Yeah,
usually
man.
do that, didn't you? You go a few of you and you feel like more a bit of a
Yeah,
unit then. There's a bit of safety in numbers.
true. But this is how hardcore I am. I once watched Saw. Was it Saw? Saw 2, I think it was, or Saw 3. It's one or the other. Where Dina Meyer has a rib cage pulled out. I was eating a margarita pizza. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm loving this.
Was that one in the cinema, was it?
I was actually at home, but I have actually eaten my fair share of stuff I probably shouldn't have had when I watched something gory, or I've just watched something, looked at what I was eating, and like, yeah, I think I've had enough.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm like that myself. I mean, I can watch blood and gore and eat. That doesn't really bother me.
Evil Dead, Freddy Alvarez's remake, I love to pieces. That's not including the cutting off of a limb, Jane Livy slicing a tongue in half. Yeah, it gets it gets worse as time goes on, but yeah, doesn't really bother me that much. Not that one
Mm.
anyway. All right, then, since you are an actor, what would be the one thing that you have learned in your career that you still use in everyday life?
One thing that I've learned that I still use in everyday life. Um, I think as an actor, like I said earlier, because the jobs, it's like this
Mm-hmm. It's
with
like a
work.
yo-yo, up
Um,
and down at points.
and I think you can become complacent when you're acting, or you can take it for granted, because you might be, the days might be long. You might be on a particularly difficult shoot, or you might be playing the same character for a long period of time. But I would just say never take it for granted and enjoy every moment of it. And I think about that in a lot of different aspects of my life, but none more so when it comes to actually having the opportunity to perform, because we do it, well, most of us do it because we love it at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And it's easy to get caught up in the moment and forget where you are.
Mm-hmm. It is. I'll tell you something though. I've done a lot of interviews in the last 4 years, but one of the things that still remains, regardless of who I've asked, is that everyone on the movie set is like one big family,
Mm,
which
yeah.
is kind of what I like to hear because nowadays you're not quite sure, whether you're actually family or you're just not sure nowadays. Whereas when you're actually making a movie, everyone's always happy to have been there. They want to go back. They want to make more seasons or sequels, depending on what you film. So yeah, it is actually nice and refreshing to hear that. I'll say movie and TV life is actually like one big family.
And it's important to be like that, because it's a job where we're so intimate with each other, and any offset friction
Mm-hmm.
you don't want, because it compromises everyone's performance. So you sort of have to be like that, I think, anyway.
All right, then, sir. You have offers to star in 3 music videos for certain artists, but you can only pick one. By the way, there can be no interference from any members of your family who will listen to this back and thinking, why didn't you pick this one over this one? So I will try and make this as painless as possible for you. So the
Okay.
first choice, obviously, is Beyonce.
Okay.
Yes, I set the bar very high with my first one. I always do. Ed Sheeran, who I've been to see once. I'll admit once or twice, and the guy is good. But there is, to be honest with you, the best concert night of my life has been my third choice for you, Taylor Swift. I went to see her on a Reputation tour 5 years ago, and honestly, best night of my life. And just so everyone knows, I haven't got tickets for her Eras tour because everyone has had so much trouble with Ticketmaster and Access. I'm like, I know the tickets are going to be expensive. It is a great night, but I am not putting myself through that. Because people are still having
So
trouble with them.
are they my options then? Beyonce, Ed Sheeran, or Taylor Swift?
Yep, which one would you have?
Do I get to see Beyonce?
You would get to see all of them, whichever one you chose.
I'm going Beyonce then.
Oh, why Beyonce? Are you a big fan?
No, I'd just rather look at her than Ed Sheeran.
I was warned about that, by the way. You just wait until you see the last couple of questions. All right, then. 3 projects that are your dreams. So it doesn't matter what it is. What are your 3 dream projects as far as acting goes?
3 dream projects. What projects that are already out now, or
It can be out now, or and it's something you want to do but you've not had chance to do yet.
um, like I said, I was a massive fan of Peaky Blinders, and I I'd have loved to have had a part in that series. So that's one of them.
You do realise there might be a Peaky Blinders movie coming.
Yeah, I do, and I'm literally going to be stood there banging on their door, casting director's door, until they let me in and do an audition.
Do it.
I'll
In
try.
fact, do what Dave Bautista would do. Charge into the offices of the people who make it and say, right, I want a part in it. Just so you know, Dave Bautista did actually barge into Warner Brothers studios. I can't remember the tale exactly, but it was along like he barged into the head of Warner Brothers movie division and said, "I want to play Bane." Unfortunately, he hasn't played Bane, but at least he let them know, right, I want to play Bane. I don't care.
Yeah, but that geezer weighs 20 stone. He can barge into anywhere.
Hey, mate, it doesn't matter.
Not.
If you've got the presence, then it doesn't matter. All you need to do is stare a hole through someone and they'll know you're serious.
All right, cool. I'll just go around intimidating casting directors
Why
until I
not?
hit the dream roles.
Why not, mate? Can't do any harm. And just so you know, I do not promote violence on any scale. Maybe the odd bit of stare downs. After all, I have been stared down quite a few times myself in the public. So yeah, a little bit of intimidation never hurts. Just don't act on it.
Yeah.
So anything else aside from Peaky Blinders that you quite fancy doing?
Oh, what else do I fancy doing? Do you know what I would really like? I would really like one of like just an original story, just to have a part in something that's totally original, something that hasn't been done before, like a long movie. You know, like I said, you sit down and watch one of those, like one of the Godfather movies, and they're
Yeah.
so inspiring. There's so much going on, but every scene just seems just as important as the last. Just a project like that would be a dream for me. Um, Third one though. Third one would probably be something that involves some kind of huge stunt. I done a stunt when I was on Hollyoaks, and I think it's probably one of the best days of my life. So something like that.
All right, then. This next one is called "Why Am I So Popular?" Because you are so popular as an actor. It's a scenario. You've just finished a scene, or you finished your day on set, whichever one you want to do. You look at your phone and find you have 5 missed calls, but because you are needed on set straight away because they forgot to do something with you, you only have time to really think about calling 2 back. Just for reference, I try and make things as hard as possible. I think this is quite hard, but I think it's quite easy at the same time. Your choices are former soap actors to star in a project with. I would actually start with I don't believe you know this person, but I do know that you know that this person starred in the same soap as you, Natalie Emmanuel.
Okay.
And in fact, her on-screen brother, who has made it quite big in Hollywood, Ricky Whittle.
Yeah, I know Ricky. Well, I know of Ricky Whittle.
Yeah. And someone who was actually in Doctors before she hit the big time, Amelia Clark.
Okay.
And yeah, she was
I
actually
didn't know that.
she was in a few episodes of Doctors before she was on Game of Thrones. Chris Hemsworth, who some people might not know, was in Home and Away once upon a time. And let's face it, one of the best villains to ever come into EastEnders. And to be honest with you, he's about as old as my dad, but he still looks way better than my dad ever did. Martin Kemp.
Okay. So I've got.
So which
I've
two?
got to be back on set, and I've got two of those people I can
Yep,
call.
you've got to phone 2 quickly back and basically hear the offer, but you can only answer 2.
Okay.
I'll tell you what,
I'd
I know
answer.
what mine 2 are straight away.
Go on then. You go
No, no,
first.
no, no. Come on, mate. Come on.
Yeah.
Come
Well, I'd answer the phone to Martin Kemp,
on.
and I'd ask him, did he think Tom Hardy played the Krays better than him?
Ooh. To be honest with you, I have actually seen Tom Hardy's version of the Kemps. Haven't seen Martin, but then again, I can't find it anywhere on streaming. Well, actually, rephrase that. I can find it, but it cost me an arm and a leg just to rent it.
Yeah. What's that? The old film, the Bonded by
Yeah,
Blood one.
the
Yeah.
the old ones, yeah.
Yeah, I've still got it on DVD, but it's got a scratch in it, so it always pauses at a certain point.
Well, that's all right. At least you didn't do what I did once, which is pour orange juice onto the entire Alien quadrilogy. Both normal and direct.
Such an Alan Partridge thing to do. Please tell me it was Sunny Delight.
I think back in the day it might have been actually.
Full on Alan Partridge move. The other person would be Chris Hemsworth, just because I want to know what his diet and training routine is.
To be honest with you, I would say Chris Hemsworth, but I'm a big softie for Amelia Clark. I mean, who doesn't want to be by the side of Daenerys Targaryen? Yes, I am a big Game of Thrones fan before you say anything.
Do you know what? I can't remember how many seasons I got in. I think I got about 4 seasons in. I think I got really busy with like when I was setting up my roofing, and I got so busy that I just never had time to sit down and watch it, and I've never actually picked it back up.
If you want a bit of advice, watch it up until season 7. Season 8 is it's kind of a mixed bag. It's kind of rushed, and a lot of fans don't like it.
Mm.
Me personally, watch it once and see what you think. But a lot of fans don't like season 8. There was actually a petition ages and ages ago for for HBO to redo the entire season 8. That's how bad it
So
was.
all the fans were just like, "This is shit. Start again."
A lot of them were like, "Do you know what? Season 8 was so shit. Let's start a change.org to see if we can get it done."
Fans telling them to rewrite the season.
But who cares? But to be honest with you, who really cares what the fans think? It's done. It's dusted. So there's nothing more they can do. To be honest, unfortunately. So
Just
yeah,
hope better
yes.
season.
So my choice would be Amelia and Chris Hemsworth. Last, I don't know how long it's been. I think it's been an hour and a half. I'm not entirely sure, but I've really enjoyed it.
No, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, mate. And obviously, good luck with everything for the next couple of months. And who knows? Hopefully, I'll get to see you back soon enough.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Let's do this again sometime. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate. And on that, ladies and gentlemen, Alfie Sykes.